A $20 billion opportunity. That's what JP Morgan sees in this industry I'm going to be covering today. And it's one of the industries I think that could see explosive growth in 2024 and 2025. And that is the Bitcoin mining industry and crypto stocks in general. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be doing a deep dive into Coinbase stock, Bitcoin mining stocks, including, but more specifically, HUT and Riot. So let's first get into it. Let's first take a look right now at the price of these stocks I'm about to talk about today. But before we get into it, let me just say this real quick. This is not financial advice, and do your own research. These are personally stocks I like. Okay? You got it? So by making this video, I'm not saying, it's going to do 100x or anything. I'm just saying these are stocks I like, and I personally believe they will do well in the bull market, very well. That's what I personally believe. Do your own research, not financial advice. You already know what I'm talking about. First up is Coinbase. First thing we're going to talk about is Coinbase stock. So Coinbase stock, it actually IPO'd back in 2022. If you don't remember, this was it was in May of 2021. Dang. That was a long time ago. I thought it was 2022. Man, shit, it's been a long time. But anyways, as you can see during the bull market, during November when we hit the all-time high, it ran up to $330. And then, of course, with the bear market, it completely dumped. And now we're sitting around $77, and it back in the stock market bottom, it hit around $33. So over a 2x since then, which is very good. And this is a stock that I personally believe is going to perform very, very well. And I think we could possibly even see a 10x from here in a bull market. I think Coinbase from this price point could see a 10x. Now let's take a deep dive into, what's actually going on with the stock, the company, blah, blah, blah. And I'll give you, my bull thesis. So let's take a look at it. The market cap of Coinbase has obviously dropped since 2021, like a bear market. So now we're going to take a look at this. Let's go to revenue. So in like most crypto companies and pretty much everyone in crypto, the bull market, they make a ton of money, and then the bear market, they don't make shit. That's pretty much how it goes. And these companies basically have to make enough money during the bull market to make it through the bear and then make it to the next bull market and then make a ton of cash, or else they go under. As we can see, it's done a lot of revenue. And 2022, 2021, 500% revenue, $7.83 billion. And then in 2022, it did $13.19 billion. And in 2023, $2.69 billion, which is still a great job. But of course, this is a bull market company. Crypto in general is a industry that needs bull markets in order to keep moving. But of course, just like bear markets happen, bull markets always happen. It's part of the market cycle. So now we're going to go to the earnings. So the earnings have not been too great. But at the same time, once again, you have to remember this is a bull market play, not a bear market. And as you can see, since 2021, we saw a 600% change. And then 2022, negative $2.98 billion. And in 2023, we saw negative $1.3 billion. Now we're going to go to price. Actually, we're not going to go to price history because we just kind of covered that. Next, we're going to go to their price earnings ratio. So as you can see down here, their PE has changed a lot. It was 81.8 in 2021, and now it is down to negative 13.8%. Now let's take a look at their total cash on hand. And this is very important. This is probably one of the most important stats to look at when you're looking at a high growth tech company, especially in crypto, is how much cash do they have on hand? Because the more cash they have on hand, the further they can withstand all the turbulence in the market. Now, of course, Bitcoin is pumping now, but there is still, it's always good to have cash because cash is king. And at the end of the day, you need cash in order to keep the business going. And if you look at, this is one thing I really like about Coinbase's stock compared to some of these other Bitcoin miners we're going to talk about, is they have a lot of cash on hand. So right now, as of June of 2023, they have $5.48 billion cash on hand. And take a look at this chart. This is pretty good. You can see they maintain, of course it's dropped with the bear market, but they've maintained a large chunk of cash. As you can see here, we saw a 550% change in 2021, and then in 2022, we saw it go down a little bit, but that's fine. They still have it sufficient. Coinbase right now has a sufficient amount of cash to make it through the bear market. And bear market, we're not really in a bear market anymore, but they have a sufficient amount of cash to make it through turbulence if we do see turbulence, which I don't know how much turbulence we're going to see. once again, that's just all speculation because nobody actually knows which direction the market's going to go. And I believe we're not going to see a true recession. But now let's take a look at their total assets. So Coinbase, of course, has a ton of assets because that's what they fucking do. They host and they're an exchange, a crypto exchange. So as of right now, they have $137 billion worth of assets. And as you can see, it keeps going up. We like to see that. Let's take a look at their liabilities. Total liabilities sitting at around $131 billion. So they have more assets than liabilities. That's always good. Net assets, $5.75 billion. So once again, we already went over assets and liabilities, but as you can see, it's a very strong number. And overall, I think those are, in my opinion, I think those are pretty healthy numbers for the stock. I think the company is doing very well. And Coinbase, once again, if you believe in crypto, then I think you should maybe believe in the crypto stock. I'm not saying not financial advice, of course, but if you think crypto is going to do well, then Coinbase is going to do very well as well. Fuck. But anyways, that's pretty much my bull thesis. Crypto number go up, Coinbase number is going to go up. If the price of the tokens are going up, and these are the guys supplying and holding the tokens, well, I'm sure their stock's going to go up too. Let's not overcomplicate the whole thing. Now we're going to talk about the Bitcoin miners. And by the way, I do have exposure to Coinbase stock. So yeah, cool. I think it's going to do very well. Now let's talk about Bitcoin mining. This is a very controversial industry, but it's an industry I think is going to do very well. And let's talk about it. So JP Morgan recently came out with a report saying they see a $20 billion opportunity for Bitcoin mining. In a new research report, the banking giant predicted a major revenue opportunity for the Bitcoin mining industry. And they talked about it, and they say they really like the stocks Riot, CleanSpark, Marathon Digital, and Cypher Mining. And today we're going to be talking about two stocks really in depth, two of them that I personally hold. And it's Riot Blockchain and Hut 8. So I think eventually I'll make a whole video probably covering all the miners, but today we're going to be focusing on two that I specifically hold. And the first one we're going to talk about is Riot Blockchain. Now, a lot of you guys are probably familiar with this. It's called Riot Platforms now, but it is the most liquid Bitcoin mining stock, and they are the biggest Bitcoin miner. They have the biggest market cap. As you can see, they have a $2 billion market cap. And right now, Riot Blockchain is sitting at around $10 since the bottom in October of about $3. Well, it actually bottomed out in December. It's done basically a 3x, and we've seen it touch $20. And if you take a look at the last bull market, it touched almost $80, and back in 2017, it touched almost $50. And I believe, once again, not financial advice, I believe this thing could easily do a 10 to 15x from the $10 it's at right now. And now let's go over what's going on with Riot Blockchain. So we can look at the market cap, blah, blah, blah. Let's look at the revenue. The revenue has been pretty decent, actually. Obviously in 2023, Bitcoin miners have struggled. And one of the big things about the miners, which I should touch on now, is the Bitcoin halving that's coming up. So when the halving comes in April 2024, the Bitcoin miner rewards will be split in half. And of course, this is going to be affecting them a lot because their whole business is mining Bitcoin, and the amount of Bitcoin they're getting mined is going to split in half. So a lot of them are gearing up because if the price of Bitcoin is sitting around $28,000 or $25,000 post-halving, so post-April 2022, we could see a lot of miners go under and possibly get acquired by guys like Riot Blockchain. And yeah, so there is some turbulence in the market. As we know, Bitcoin just recently pumped. So if Bitcoin's sitting around the level it's at right now or higher by the time the halving comes, they're pretty much all of them are going to be fine. If we're sitting around 40K during the halving, most of them are going to be fine. I'm not going to say all of them, but most of them, especially the bigger ones with a lot of Bitcoin and cash, they'll be fine. So let's take a look at their earnings. As we can see in 2021, they definitely, they struggled. And as you see in 2022, they did very, very well. And in 2023, there's not really anything here. But what I'm really bullish on we're going to skip, it's going to take too long if we go through everything. But one reason I like Riot compared to a lot of the other Bitcoin miners is take a look at this. They have cash on hand. Our next guy, Hut 8, does not have that much cash on hand. And this is very important. It's really good to see that they have cash on hand because this is what will allow them to sustain turbulence. And let's take a look at their net assets. As you can see, they have $1.24 billion in net assets, and that's very good. So I believe Riot Blockchain is going to do very good. They're the most liquid. They have cash on hand. They're producing a lot of Bitcoin. And let's take a look at this is their social media right here. They also have a couple influencers who are hired by their company, which does matter, so they can get people to buy the stock. But they are, they're doing really good things. They're continuing to build more Bitcoin mining. They're producing a lot of Bitcoin. We're going to get into some of those stats a little later in this video. But now let's talk about Hut 8 mining. So this is another, definitely way more riskier than Riot Blockchain. I do own Hut 8. They are... I'm not going to, let's just cut the bullshit here. Hut 8, they're playing a risky game right here. As you're going to see right here, let's just take a look at the Hut 8 stock before the price. Hut 8 right now. It bottomed at around 80 cents back in December, January, and now it's sitting around $2, and we saw it reach $4.50. If Hut 8 is able to withstand the turbulence of the market, I believe this thing could possibly do a 10 to a 20x. That's if it's able to withstand the market. Once again, there is a lot more risk in Hut 8 than Riot Blockchain, in my opinion. And we're going to skip all the revenue and all. Actually, we'll go over it just for you guys, but we're going to make this quick. So this is the revenue right here. Here are the earnings. Earnings have not been too good. Obviously, in 2022, went under. Let's take a look at the market cap. As you can see in 2021, like pretty much all the market, they all went to the moon. Now let's look at the price earnings ratio. Going up. This is where things get a little interesting though for Hut 8. Their cash on hand. So as you can see right here, they have $20 million cash on hand. Okay? Which is not great at all. Not good, in my opinion. I like companies to have cash on hand, but once again, this is a way more risky play. So I believe that if Hut 8 is able to make it through the storm and everything, which I think they will. That's why I have money on it. But once again, I'm just putting the risk out for you guys. They don't have much cash. But what they do have is they have a lot of Bitcoin. We're going to get into that later. But if you take a look at their net assets, they have $0.35 billion of net assets. So they do have some Bitcoin to eventually sell off and all that other stuff. But I will say they are playing more of a risky game than Riot Blockchain. They don't have much cash. I mean, it's not even comparable, but they do have a lot of Bitcoin, and that's a good thing about them. And once again, Hut 8 will probably produce greater returns than Riot Blockchain because it's a much riskier play if they don't end up getting acquired and if Bitcoin doesn't tank. So, yeah, this is their social media right here. They have about 35K followers, and they've just voted overwhelmingly. They merged with USBTC. And Hut 8 is actually a Canadian mining company, which is kind of interesting because we know Canada is not too friendly to Bitcoin and crypto, but they are trying to expand to America. And that's what they're doing with this merger they recently had happen with USBTC. And personally, I think they could do very well. But once again, there's a lot of risk involved. All right. Now let's take a look at Bitcoin mining. So shout out Bitcoin MicroPig. If you're really into Bitcoin mining and you're, trying to get into the Bitcoin mining game, I highly recommend you follow this dude. So right now, let's take a look at the Bitcoin mining production. So Mara is the second biggest stock, and we have Riot here. Let's take a look at their September Bitcoin mining production. Riot went a little bit under 300, but once again, Riot is the most liquid stock and has the most cash on hand, and Mara is continuing to dilute shareholders, which is an interesting play. I think Mara will do fine, but as you can see, just take a look at the stats of some of the Bitcoin mining. Mara definitely did the best in September. Riot right behind. But personally, I think Riot is probably the safest play out of all the Bitcoin miners because they have a lot of cash and they're also the most liquid stock. So that's what's going on with the Bitcoin mining. Now let's talk about HODL. So here's the HODL progression, January of 2022 to present. And this is miners with 1,000 plus Bitcoin. Right here we have Mara, second most liquid stock. And we have Hut right here. Hut is the one we were just talking about, Hut 8 mining. And as I said right now, Hut 8 does not have much cash on hand, which I'm not too big of a fan of, to be honest. But they do have a lot of Bitcoin on hand. They have a lot. So they do have Bitcoin to sell off. And I personally believe they're going to make it. I believe they're going to make it. Once again, I could be wrong. So I could be completely wrong on this. But I do believe they'll make it. And as you can see down here, we have Riot third with their Bitcoin. So as you can see, they hodl, Hut 8 does hodl a lot of Bitcoin. So they don't have much cash on hand, but they hodl a lot of Bitcoin. So they're going to be able to sell that off if turbulence happens, which I personally believe the price of Bitcoin will be at a high enough price when the halving happens, where a lot of these companies will survive. I don't think all of them are going to make it, but I think Hut 8 will make it. Now let's talk about this. Once again, we're going to be talking about the cash burn. So we touched on this earlier, but take a look at this chart showing runway based on Q1 24E cash burn. So this chart right here shows how long each miner would last if the shuttered operations due to mining at a negative cost per coin. So if they were mining at a negative cost per coin, this is how long they'd actually survive. So the longer a miner can weather depressed Bitcoin prices, the better chance it has to ramp operations when Bitcoin's price goes on a bull run. So that's basically the whole game of mining is you got to be able to make it through the depressed mining Bitcoin prices. And one of the big advantages with like the eco-friendly / carbon neutral Bitcoin miners is that they're able to really efficiently mine Bitcoin, which is a very good thing. But let's get into it right here. As you can see, Riot, cash and Bitcoin. So with cash, the runway is to Q1 of 2029, and cash and Bitcoin, it's Q4 of 2032. That's why I love Riot, because they're well positioned to weather the storm. They have the biggest operations, most liquid, and you're going to be able to probably make sick gains out of it too. It's not like it's not. I mean, took a look at the chart. Let me go back to it. I mean, if you don't think this thing's going to run, I don't know what to say. But we're going to go back to it. Now let's take a look at Mara, second biggest one. Mara, as you can see, runway Q4 2029. And then we have Hut right here. And as you can see, with their cash, solely cash, Q1 2024, which is next quarter, because we're in Q4 of 2023, which is, interesting. But as you can see, cash and Bitcoin, Q4 of 2026. Now, there is a lot of talk about Hut possibly getting acquired by someone like Riot, and I do believe some of these miners are probably not going to make it. And of course, that's like every other industry where we see the big boys. There's going to be a lot of Bitcoin miners. My prediction is going to be a lot of Bitcoin. There is a lot of Bitcoin miners, and a lot of them are going to get eaten up by companies like Riot and Mara. Hut may be in that situation where it gets acquired. Once again, it's a more risky bet, but there is a possibility of making more gains with it. But as you can see, they do have a healthy amount of Bitcoin and Q4 22. But if you look at some of these other guys, take a look at this. Wolf, CleanSpark, CFR, Argo. Take a look at this. Q1 2024, cash and Bitcoin. Q2 2024. Q2. Like this is not, in my opinion, if you're going here, you could probably make a lot of money on it possibly, but once again, pretty risky bet. I think you'd want to stay up here where you can say, hey, worst case scenario, what Hut's probably going to do is they're going to start selling off Bitcoin. That's in the bearish scenario. In the bullish scenario, all of these guys go up and they all make money, which is very possible. But we got to prepare for the storm, and that's how we're playing. Now let's take a look at the Bitcoin hash rate. As you can see, the Bitcoin hash rate continues to go up and up, and the Bitcoin mining difficulty continues to go up and up too. But yeah, guys, that's all we got today for this video. I just want to go over a couple stocks, crypto stocks, that I think could perform very well in the bull market and that I personally have exposure to. Once again, this is not financial advice. Please do your own freaking research. Please do it. This is just what I'm liking and what I want to talk about. And I think they can do very, very well in the next bull market. But yeah, guys, that's all we got for today's video. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to go follow me on Twitter at AaronBremser_. I'm tweeting all the time. I'm posting daily videos here, so make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, leave a like, and thank you for watching.